back to the Ringdown podcast. I'm Hope Escobar.
And I'm Casey Fury. Today we're sitting down with Paramedic Jenny Trombley and Lieutenant Thomas Boettner.
We'll talk about what drew them to become first responders, what a day on the job looks like, and what calls have stuck with them.
Plus the teamwork it takes to make rescues run smoothly and how they stay motivated to show up even on the toughest calls.
Paramedic freeze on scene.
Second line, knockdown there, exterior fire.
Let's get into it. Thank you guys for being with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start off. What inspired you guys to pursue a career at Roanoke Fire-EMS?
I started in high school. I just had some friends that joined the rescue squad. My dad was an engineer. My mom was a teacher. Nobody in my family has ever been a part of this kind of community or done anything like this. And I had maybe 8 or 10 friends that all joined, and I wasn't big in sports or any other like big, social clubs or anything. And so I needed something to do. And so I signed up, and that was 2008, and I just never got out, and here we are.
Awesome.
I grew up in a firehouse. My mom was an EMT for 25 years, so it was really something I was always used to. And then I also joined in high school, got my EMT my senior year, joined the volunteer rescue squad, fell in love with it. Had quite a few friends from there who worked for the city, and it sounded like an amazing place to earn experience and whatnot, so I joined it and I've loved it.
How long have each of you been with our department now?
I've been with the department 3 years now.
Oh, almost 11. Almost 12 if you count part-time for about a year before that.
What's your favorite part about working here?
I think just the community. I mean, I've done shifts in different departments, going through paramedic school and doing clinicals and being in the volunteer system in the county. And this just always had the biggest semblance of family and people doing things outside of work together. And the camaraderie and feeling you get when you're here, we're busy. And so you do get a lot of experience. And I don't know, it just has a wholeness, a completeness to it. We have nice equipment, we have nice buildings. The people, for the most part, all get along really, really well. Each shift kind of has its own personality, and people kind of seem to fall into the right place, and given, each individual's personality, what shift they're on, and the makeup of how all that feels. And I don't know, it just feels like a home. It feels like the right place to be. And some other departments are, I don't know, I guess they're slower. People just kind of migrate off and do their own thing. But the city's just always been the most like integral, first responder community that I've seen, at least anywhere near here.
I agree with that. It sounds very cliche that it's like one big family, but it really is. Being a full-time paramedic, I get to work across all of the different shifts, and they really all just welcome you in like a family. I know that I could call just about anybody, and they'd be willing to help you out whenever you needed it. Everybody's really passionate about the job. They're happy to be here. They're happy to show up every day. Even if you are running calls for 24 hours straight, everyone's happy to do the work.
So you said full-time paramedic. You are the first guest we've had that is not cross-trained.
Yes.
So kind of tell us about your role in the department, how it differs from like a regular firefighter paramedic on a shift.
So there's 4 full-time paramedics within the department. I joined as full-time paramedic a little bit over a year ago. We're different in that we're technically on a 40-hour schedule, so we work 3 12-hour shifts one week, 4 12-hour shifts the next week, and then it's on a rotating schedule. We're very lucky that we have the freedom to pretty much self-schedule. We primarily work at Station 1, Station 5, off of the trucks, Medic 101 and Medic 105. We have the freedom to work with whatever shifts we would prefer to do so. We have a bit of an expanded run area, but our main job, I don't know, we're called like a power truck. So we hope to take a lot of the bear off of the other medic trucks. We focus primarily on EMS. That allows me to get a little bit more into the education side of things. I get to help go educate at the training center, the other paramedic classes and whatnot.
It's definitely, a unique role in our department, and one that could most likely be expanded upon in the future with, the amount of EMS calls that we run in the city and the constant demand for that service.
It is a good way to get seen too, though. I mean, she's right. She works all 3 shifts and at the trains. I mean, everybody knows those people very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, if you come out of academy and you just go to an outlying station on one shift, you just don't see everybody all the time.
Yeah.
They're at a core company every day, whether it's 1 or 5. The places they go from that hub, you know, they go to every reach of the city. They see places that, you know, that most people wouldn't go very often, to 11 or 13, just further stations and run territory. They still go there. And so they get to interact with literally everybody. It's a good way to get seen quickly. Or from a part-time perspective, just as a part-time employee, it's a very good way for people to know who you are if you wanted to work here full-time. That's what I did for about a year. And when I went to apply full-time, everybody knew who I was. Yeah. You know, you can set yourself up for success.
You get to work with every single supervisor, get to learn their different styles and how they like to run calls.
That is cool. That's a lot of different influence from a lot of people. So yeah, I'm sure you learn a lot of skills from that too.
I can say I've learned so much just in my couple years of working here. Some people like to argue that 1 year working EMS in Roanoke City equates to about 5 years in other departments just because of how busy we are, and I would agree with that.
I believe that for sure.
So you come in, get to work. What does a day at work look like for you guys, start to finish?
So I'll show up to work. We initially check off the trucks. We mark into service. A lot of times we will have paramedic students or EMT students come ride with us, so we will familiarize them with the building, the station, the truck, our equipment, everything like that. We have morning chores that we will do in the morning, and then other than that, we're waiting for calls. We stay pretty busy. I'd say we're steady throughout the day with our calls. In between that, during downtime, helping students study, try to get meals in there every once in a while.
Right.
Yeah, work on reports, anything like that.
Yours is pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Mine's always, at least it is now. You know, before this, for 2 years, I was the EMS supervisor, which is, again, very consistent. You know, I had one truck with somewhat limited specialized equipment. You know, I pretty much did the same thing every day, but everything included all sorts of stuff. Yeah, and mostly administrative, staffing, working with the battalion chief, managing issues, handling problems, you know, also running calls, going to administrative meetings, juggling, you name it, it comes into that position. But it was the same truck, same role, same spot every day. You know, now I might ride the officer seat on the fire truck, I might drive the fire truck, I might ride the ambulance, I might fill in on the EMS supervisor, I might have to travel. Every day is just completely different.
It is always
different.
Every guess of what we will do.
So position, you name the role, I could fill that at any moment, at any day, because it just changes so much, especially being at a core station.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about, I know you're no longer on it full time, but the EMS supervisor position, and kind of what, besides the administrative aspect, like what is the purpose of that position on calls?
On calls, the true purpose of that is just to make sure things get done wholly and completely. Your role isn't to show up and necessarily jump in and fix something that's not wrong. You know, you're there to support these people that we have, like Jenny, that they're already going to do an awesome job. You know, most of the time, I don't need to do anything when I show up, unless I'm just bringing a specialized piece of equipment. Mm-hmm. You have somebody that is so sick they need something off my truck, they need additional respiratory support. Or if it's a cardiac arrest, you know, I carry the Lucas device that does CPR for us, that saves us a lot of focus and, you know, energy wearing ourselves out doing CPR. That just takes that whole role away. And then we can focus on other stuff. But it's really just to make sure things go well and get done, that we don't miss something. You know, people get tunnel vision and it's easy. And just that one extra person that kind of comes in the back of the room might pick up on something that really matters, that everybody's missed just because of the haste and the hecticness of a critical call. You know, they're doing a good job, but there might be something in the corner that nobody noticed that makes a difference. So that role is very unique in that aspect of just figuring out what actually needs to be done, standing in the background, and then getting involved when you actually have to be, you know, to try and make a difference on some of those critical calls.
I mean, you're essentially a critical care paramedic, even though it doesn't necessarily exist in the Western Virginia EMS.
Yeah, the way we label it's a little bit
just have
different, but it is.
Some additional drugs, some extra equipment.
Yeah, stuff that the ambulances don't have, I do, and I can show up and basically if they've reached their capacity of what they're able to do with the stuff they have on their truck, then it's probably at the point when I have something additional that they need to, fix whatever's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So for those who might not have ever called 911 or has not experienced responding to an emergency, can you guys kind of walk us through an incident? What does it look like from beginning to end?
That can vary.
Yeah, that's a broad question. I mean, people's perceptions of what an emergency is differs a lot. There's some things that are pretty obvious, and then there's some things that we certainly don't think are emergencies, and they do. And
They call 911 because they're concerned. We will respond from our station, depending on the questions that the dispatcher's asking them and how they respond to them. It'll create a certain response type, either with just a medic truck, ambulance, or also an additional engine or a rescue supervisor if necessary. We will respond in a timely manner, get to wherever they're at. We meet them where they're at. We start doing our assessment. We'll be asking lots of questions regarding their situation, their symptoms, everything like that. We'll collect vital signs. We usually take a picture of their heart with a 12-lead EKG. Depending on their situation, their presentation, what issues they might be experiencing, we may have to do medications, start an IV, other interventions if necessary. We usually transport them to the hospital. And
yeah, I mean, you got to remember like the human element.
yeah,
every call is different. People's perceptions of what their emergency is always different. Sometimes those line up and we recognize what they're feeling is truly an emergency, and we have to stay professional and calm even when we realize that like something's really bad or something bad is about to happen, and coach them. They're scared, right? Like coach them through what we're doing, why we're doing it, and be realistic with them of, what might happen. Some of these people might look at you and that they're about to die. And that's hard for some of our younger members that have never done this before or really had to step into that kind of level of empathy and, professionalism. It's hard to teach that unless you do it in the moment. The longer we're here as educators in the field trying to teach younger members stuff like that, it's difficult. And you have to kind of catch them in that moment and show them, hey, look, this is what this person needs to hear. You need to look this person in the eye and be empathetic, but also very, real with them about what's happening, what you're doing, and how we're trying to fix it. But also, you got to reassure them. You got to provide some level of reassurance and confidence that what you're doing, that you can help them in this time of need.
What do you think? You talked about different types of emergencies or what people perceive to be an emergency. What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions with EMS? Either from the fire service side or the public side that you see?
I think people just think that they're going to get some level of, attention, service.
our priority.
Priority over other people just because they call you. Very frequently they think that they can bypass the waiting room at the emergency room and get a room and get in and out of there and fix all their problems in the next hour. And it's not true.
And it's not the case.
It has nothing. We have nothing to do with the hospital. We take people there. But their system, once they walk through the door, unless we've recognized something very serious and legitimate that we have to tell them about ahead of time because we know that they need some specialized care, 99% of the time it's treated the same whether you walk into the double doors at the hospital through the entrance and take a seat or we bring you in. It doesn't matter. They triage you and repeat that whole process of evaluating your perceived emergency just like we just did, and they redo that and determine the level of severity that they actually have to deal with. But people have a perception that it doesn't matter what's wrong, calling the ambulance is going to get them some service that other people are going to get neglected.
And if you are sick, it will be beneficial, right?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
Not, our service provides pre-hospital care, essentially at a high level, that if you are having an active heart attack, you've been shot, you are critically sick, you can't breathe, right? We can fix a lot of that before we get to the hospital, where it's not as much of an emergency at the hospital level as opposed to just walking in. But for our other call natures that aren't necessarily high acuity, we don't necessarily change a ton in terms of, we come out, make sure that you're not critically ill, and then bring you to the hospital.
And the better we are at our jobs, and the better we can determine what's actually wrong, right? If you're not good at your job and you don't know, you show up and you don't know what's wrong, you're not really providing a service. You will just take them to the hospital, and that's about all you've accomplished. But when you're good at your job and you can show up and do things and find problems and or fix them, then you can make a better judgment and put somebody where they need to be.
I do kind of like to remind myself that we serve a lot of underprivileged, underserved populations that they don't get to see primary care. They don't get to see specialists. They just don't have those types of resources. So sometimes it's a good reminder that sometimes the ER is all that they feel that they have, whether that's appropriate or not, or they just haven't had these other resources allocated to them. Some of it is just out of their control, but it can lead to an abuse of the system, which just puts a lot of harder work on us and fatigues the system a lot quicker. As far as the fire side, I do believe that there is sometimes a negative connotation of EMS within the fire department side. However, I do think that at some point you have to acknowledge that majority of the call volume in the fire service is sourced from EMS calls, and it quote unquote keeps the lights on. I do think that using it as an excuse to not do your job well is a problem. We can create liabilities, and that whether they like it or not in the fire service, it's still here, so you still need to do your job well, and there's still people that need to be served. And I think that's what everybody agreed to when they started this career. So you still need to be able to do your job well, regardless of what side you're on.
So kind of rolling off of that, I know we've talked a lot about aggressive fire training and things like that. What do you guys do to stay kind of with the times and training on the EMS side?
We do similar education. I mean, we have pre-scheduled education through the training division. Our medical director is very involved. Thankfully she's still around. When she retires, we'll have to find somebody that's been as involved as she has for the last 8-9 years now that she's been with us, and we've got a lot done. I mean, she's found an approach and a personality to
Personality is a way to put it.
yeah, to get people to be involved, right? And some of that is, and we're laughing, but she's just kind of aggressive. She's from Boston. She was a paramedic. Like, she gets it. She's done everything from the bottom up, and so she understands kind of our viewpoint, where we're coming from and what we deal with. And she's found a way to teach us the things that really matter, the things that are changing, right? Things always change. You go take a CPR class every 5 years. Something's going to be different every 5 years, right? They're constantly doing research. They're constantly changing something. And you just have to stay up with those changes. Because the only reason that they do that is because they found some scientific study that makes a difference, right? And they're not going to change it for no reason. They're changing it because they found that something is better out there that saves lives, and that's what we should be doing. We always have to just stay flexible and adapt to change. This is a very evolving field constantly, and some people forget that. And the longer you're in this type of job, you get jaded, you slow down, you aren't interested as much in change. You just want to show up and then go home and retire. Everybody kind of hits that point, but this is a very important and dynamic job, and you just really do have to pay attention when things are changing, and it's going to make an impact on the people that we're trying to help. So she's been very involved in trying to motivate us to stay up with the times, and you just have to get out there and do it. It's just like anything else, repetition. We go to pre-scheduled training. We talk about the stuff that's different. Maybe we don't spend all day talking about the things that we've been doing the same that haven't changed, and boring people. We just focus on the stuff that's new and somewhat exciting and different, and try to demonstrate like why that change is actually going to help somebody. And I guess try to make it sound cool, try to find some level of interest to engage people that may not otherwise be so interested in doing that. Just looking for people's interest and personalities to kind of drum up some sort of engagement to motivate them to do it.
Yeah, she really supports evidence-based practice. We've contributed to research studies just based off of our trucks. We did an ultrasound study for a long time that helped contribute to her research projects with her residents over at the hospital, as well as our SPEAR study regarding cardiac arrest and certain medications administered during that. I also think getting involved in education of the next generation helps keep me current, at least. Teaching a whole new group of people who are looking to become paramedics helps keep me current, has me going back and rereading stuff that maybe I haven't read in a long time and reading current research to help teach them properly, teach them the most modern ways of doing things. Really helps me stay current and proficient as paramedic.
You got to care about the whole job. I mean, you can't just sign up to do both and then only expect to do one. Like you do have to care about the whole thing. And again, we're just here to help people, right? We don't have a house fire every single day. You're just not going to. But we're gonna run calls, and you're gonna engage people, and you're gonna help them, and you have to look at this job as a whole and find every aspect that you can be good at to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Is there a particular call that's stuck with you guys?
It's a hard question. No, not really. Yeah. We run so many, and the longer you do this, you start to, I hate to say it, you start to forget.
Yep, I feel like it's like yes and no, because there'll be like, and I'm the same way. If I ask you right now, put you on the spot, is there a particular call that stuck out with you?
It's hard to think
but then
that up. Yeah.
In the morning, right? You and I break shift twice a week. We're each other's opposites. It's hard in the moment to be like, tell me about a specific call that sticks out to you.
I mean, we're busy.
Also, a lot of them
we run a lot of
the calls that stay with you are negative in connotation.
Yeah.
Either fatalities or
unfortunately, the common response emotionally to that is to suppress it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And we have a lot of things in place to try to prevent that, but a natural human reaction to a bad experience is to hide from it, and to suppress that and not sit around thinking about it, because it just makes it worse. And he's right. I mean, the things that do really show up are usually negative. Sometimes you get something that's just funny or interesting that you have to laugh about, but a lot of it is really negative stuff that people don't want to sit and talk about, because a baby died or whatever. We see that. We see the nastiest, worst possible situations, and we try not to just sit around and think about that.
I will say in my 16 years of EMS, I've had more code saves in this agency than I had ever had prior to coming here. And I don't want to say it takes away from, but like before coming here, if you got a code save a couple times a year, like they were memorable because it was, not a frequent thing. Whereas we achieved ROSC on a lot of our codes. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that person is going to, leave the hospital.
But a lot of them do.
Correct. But, we're so proficient that it almost takes away we did really good. It's like, no, we just did what we do. Like, that's what we've come to expect, that level of ability and professionalism.
And those are cool calls, right? They're bad, but the outcome is good, and you get to remember those and be proud of that, and sit around. You can think about those. Absolutely. Even though the call itself was bad, that person's alive.
Yeah.
So you saw them dead, completely dead, and now they've walked out of the hospital and went home. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, you had one, not that.
I've
come by the firehouse.
Thankfully, I have a list of people from riding the supervisor vehicle that I saw dead and have went home, and I saw alive later and talked to and shook their hands. That's really cool.
You had talked, sorry, I'm going to backtrack a little bit because you had said something and I wanted to come back to it about being like getting jaded and stuff like that. What motivates the two of you to kind of combat that, right? Or how do you decompress, after bad calls or long shifts? Or
I think going back to as far as being jaded, just reminding yourself we are serving a very underprivileged, underserved population. They don't have the same resources that you and I do. They don't have the same support that you and I do. They are either sleeping on the street or just dealing with a lot at home. They're in completely situations and we are, and it just takes a couple of bad events to happen back to back to end up in that same situation. Just trying to remember that when you are maybe dealing with the more abused side of the system.
You have to have those good calls, right? You have to have those memorable good calls.
Those good calls.
Those really, one memorable good call will offset an entire year of just mundane nothingness or negative outcomes. Like this, that one good call will really reset you. I mean, you just have to find it in yourself to remember why we're here and doing this. Right? If you've forgotten that, then maybe it's time to go.
How do you decompress?
I think everybody's different. I mean, there's
Right. Well, I mean, you like personally, like, unless
I have, how many side jobs, things do I do? Now I just go home to my son, right? Like I have a almost 1-year-old, and he's full tilt and he's happy, and he's a very easy distraction from anything negative in the world. You just go home and you play with him. Everybody has something that they do to decompress, whether they bike or hike or, they play video games. Everybody's got something, right?
That release
Yeah.
helps you kind of unplug from the day's work.
Even if you're not like forgetting about something bad, even if you're still paying attention to the fact that you saw that or you did that, like you still have an outlet to express yourself. And, people that don't, that's why we have a peer support team. We have things in place for these people that struggle with having an outlet to make sure that they do find something. They do get some sort of relief from what we do here.
When you show up to a call, what are some of the hazards that you guys have to be on the lookout for that people might not think about?
Dogs, power lines, fences, guns, knives, you name it. Yeah.
When you get a large group of bystanders on a call, they tend to get antsy pretty quickly, and they're hyper focused on what we're doing or in their perception not doing.
Yeah, the more people you see in a crowd, the worse it's going to be. That's more more upset people that you have to contain at one time by yourself,
Mm-hmm.
If you just have one family member that's distraught, that's okay. We can handle that pretty easy. But when you have a crowd of 30 people that's upset, it's hard to do that, do your job and manage that kind of threat by yourself. But I mean, you name it. Tree limbs fall, if it's a storm, things falling out of trees, power lines, people, dogs, you name it.
they did have 2 birds get fried on a power line yesterday that caused a brush fire.
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
You name it. You just have to really be vigilant and stepping out of the truck and then just looking, just night, day, doesn't matter, looking around and seeing what's happening around before you do anything. Get traffic.
Big one.
People are terrible drivers.
More of us die from
The interstate.
getting hit by cars than we ever do in fires. I think that's probably one of the number one LODDs is fire.
Yeah, away from besides medicals, in terms of like traumatic line of duty deaths, I would say that's
Vehicle accidents.
say that's accurate.
Our own driving. I mean, let's be honest, we go over the speed limit, we're running lights and sirens, we go through intersections, people don't pay attention. They have their radios up full blast, cars are very insulated, they can't hear you coming. Like just driving down the road to a call is incredibly dangerous.
All right, kind of going back to first day in the field, what would you guys say to that version of yourself now?
I would tell myself that I have so much to learn. You don't know nearly as much as you think you do. Soak it all in, be a sponge for information. I was lucky that my first day working for Roanoke Fire-EMS, I was with Thomas, Paramedic 13.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Big 1-3.
the big 1-3. But no, just that there's so much to learn, more than you can even imagine. You're going to meet a lot of amazing people. It's going to become like one huge family.
First day out of rookie school.
Sure. Think about time ago.
Yeah, I know your memory's not what it used to be.
Nervousness. I mean, especially when you go to like a big station, your first day. Like,
Where'd you go?
I went to 5.
Okay.
For about a month.
Okay.
While they figured out where to distribute the new people that came out. I mean, you have, 10 to 12 people that you feel like you have to please at all moments of the day. You can't really sleep because you just sit there and lay there and stare at the light, waiting for the light to come on to get a call. So you don't sleep through the call. It's just, you're just nervous. You want to make everybody happy. You want to impress them. You want to prove yourself. But you just have to kind of slow down, break that down a little bit, and just focus. Just pay attention to things. Learn as much as you can. Focus on the little details. You'll get everything done, but there's no point in just wearing yourself out with anxiety the entire day, because then you won't enjoy it, right?
What advice would you give yourself? Give that first day Thomas from today Thomas.
I think just don't be so nervous about appeasing people.
Were you nervous?
Oh yeah, everybody's nervous. Yeah, of course. But don't worry so much about pleasing. Like, if you're doing a good job, they're gonna be happy, right? If you just pay attention to what you're doing and you don't do dumb stuff, you walk yourself through the day. Well, I mean, it's true.
Don't do dumb stuff.
This is true. But don't have so much anxiety about pleasing the people that you're with. Like, they'll be happy when you just do your job.
It's very true. What advice would you give to somebody that's looking to get into this career or into EMS?
Just make sure it's right for you. I mean, do a ride along. Check your personality against this kind of environment. This is, especially here, this is a very fast-paced, busy, high acuity, a lot of bad stuff happening around you at all times. Make sure you're good with that. Some people, I say this all the time, people that I talk to that say, oh, I can never do that. A lot of times those are the people that are actually good at it.
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't tried. They haven't considered it. They haven't thought about it. They've never done a ride along. They don't know anything about it. They just kind of write off this job as something that they could never do, even though maybe they are really good at helping people. Maybe they are really intelligent and they pay attention to details, and they're mechanically inclined. They can fix things, right? But they just won't. They don't give it the time of day to think about it. Those people are usually pretty good at this job. But if they don't want to do it, if their drive isn't there to do it after doing a ride along or actually seeing what we do, if they're not interested, then they shouldn't be here. You have to have some desire to want to do it. And it's just an internal motivator for you to actually go through academy, which is not easy. Apply, go through all those steps, take the time, go through academy, and then invest yourself in this job. If you don't have the desire, then, don't do it. But sometimes people that are really into this are good at it, and you just have to check yourself and check your personality against this job and see if it's the right fit. If it's not, that's okay. Some people just aren't good at this, and some people that won't let themselves try would be really good at it.
I'd just say, understand that the job will probably change you. Like you said, you see all sorts of different things. The job will change you.
It will, for sure.
Physically, emotionally, mentally. Be prepared for that. Be prepared for the change and have an outlet. Find yourself a support system, whether that's your friends, your family, your dog, what have you. Find a support system and find an outlet for you that can help you decompress for the things that you deal with at work. And then just always be trying to better yourself. Like we've said, it's a very dynamic job. It's ever changing. You should always be wanting to be the best version of yourself, investing in yourself, investing in your education. Just always be better.
I like it. Is there anything else that we didn't ask you guys about that you'd like to highlight or share?
Obviously, this is a whole podcast, right? You can talk about something different every day, but it's it's a very interesting job. There's always something new, right? That's why you could sit here forever and talk about stuff, because there's always something new. There's always something different that changes or that's different that's happening. That's why it's cool. Every day is different.
It sure is. Well, thank you both for taking the time to be here today and sharing your stories with us.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the Ringdown podcast. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Roanoke Fire-EMS to stay up to date on the City of Roanoke's news and incidents our team responds to.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Command first one. Paramedic 3 is on scene.
Second line, knock down the exterior fire.